Yo, what is up, people? It is your boy MM2K back again with another special video. This is a video where we are going to be talking about the state of Stadia and its tech. We're going to be talking about Google's, Big G's approach to cloud gaming in the future in lieu of this news that we're about to share with you. And we're going to be talking about kind of my thoughts on the state of cloud gaming today and what it's going to be in the future. We thank you for being so patient. We're having technical difficulties. So let me see here. Let me see if I can do something real quick, guys and gals. Just bear with me for 1 second. That's what took us so long. And if I can give you any advice, is do not use Streamlabs OBS. It is the worst program ever. And I just need to stop being lazy. Let me see, remote control. I need to stop being lazy and I need to just convert all my backgrounds and stuff to regular OBS. Streamlabs OBS, I've been a consumer for years. And the amount of things that happens. Okay, why is this? Hold on. This doesn't even make any sense. Oh, why? Oh, come on. What is going on here? Oh, that was horrible. All right. It doesn't even make sense, the amount of things that go wrong with this program. 0.1, 0.12. 0.12. The amount of things that go wrong with this program is like crazy. Okay, but I just said, bear with me. We're gonna start the show soon. It's just the last little piece that we got to get together is giving me some heartache. 0.1, 0.12. I click OK. All right, now there we go. All right, we got the last little piece fixed. I am again MM2K of PNTS Network and CloudDosage. I want to thank you again for coming and joining us for another members exclusive content. Now, some of you may say, MM2K, hey, yo, Geek the Sneakers in the house. What's going on? We gave Geek them technical difficulties gave Geek the Sneak enough time to come off the ice cream truck. Oh, man. And gave him some time to get off the ice cream truck and join us. Hey, Geek, you said why? I may have missed that in my going back and forth over Streamlabs, how horrible it is. What were you asking why to, my good friend? Just let me know in the chat. But what we're going to be talking to you guys and gals about today is we're going to be talking to you about the state of Stadia's tech. There's been rumors that Stadia's tech is going to be sold off to the highest bidders. And we were a huge part of facilitating that rumor. So we're going to give you the final verdict on that rumor and give you the best understanding that we can per our sources that are on the ground, the boots on the ground. We're going to give you a better understanding of the things that are going on with the tech. He said, why Stadia? Oh, yeah, it's the future of Stadia's tech. Yeah, we were talking about for a while that Stadia's tech was going to be sold off, potentially PlayStation and some other people were looking to get it. They were interested in it. That had a huge part to play in it being Stadia being closed down, We want to give the final verdict on that because, again, we got to remember that, you know, a lot of people, even though they've had to move on, a lot of people still are heavily attached to Stadia's tech because it's the one that's introduced them most to gaming. You have a lot of people, Geek, and anybody else that's listening on the other side of this, you have a lot of people that just went back to not playing games after Stadia left. We hardcore, we have the loudest voices and we create a lot of noise, but we don't represent the majority of people. We got to remember that the majority of gamers are not hardcore gamers. They don't know who any of us are, or they don't know who any of these podcasts are or anything like that. They just pop in a game and play it. They don't go through the rigors of, console wars, and they don't go through any of that stuff. They just pop in. They go to their friends. What are you playing? Playing this platform. Okay, well, that's the platform I'm gonna grab too, because I want to be able to play Call of Duty with you. That's the name of the game for the majority of gamers. So even though we may hear a lot of noise on the periphery, a lot of things are under the spotlight, that doesn't represent the majority of gamers. A lot of gamers that Stadia brought to the forefront they stopped playing games again. My brother is one of them. And he had a love-hate relationship with Stadia, but it reinvigorated him into playing games again. And he was one of the people that was extremely disappointed in the lack of new games that were coming to the platform. And as they were turning the ship, they were getting Dead Island 2 and they had got Saints Row, and it looks like they were going to get Callisto Protocol, Need for Speed. As they were starting to turn the ship and they were starting to get more games in the catalog, things got cut off, and you wouldn't believe the amount of calls that I got, including my brother. So people were distraught, and they looked at the landscape of gaming and they said, no, none of this fits me. So they quit. So a lot of people were on standby mode. They were like, okay, I'm not gaming now. Well, first and foremost, a lot of people never stopped playing Stadia until the day that it died. Like they played it religiously until it died. They didn't skip a beat. I wasn't one of those people, again, because I represent the more hardcore gamer, but I got to understand, I got to be self-aware and understand that my actions and my voice don't represent the majority of the people in our community that we were serving. So a lot of the people were still playing Stadia regularly. When I logged on, I would still, maybe half of what it was before the Stadia dead announcement. That's phenomenal to me. Maybe half of the people were still online. You would expect it to only be like maybe a fifth. Still half of the people were on Stadia that were on my friends list. To me, that's crazy. So a lot of people continued to play it until the day that it died. A lot of people voiced they were very disgruntled when all of the Stadia platforms, including this one, abandoned showcasing and doing gameplays of the platform. I mean, we wanted to still do content, and we would have still done content, but we couldn't find any creators that, again, represent the hardcore. And I get it. We couldn't find any creators that wanted to continue doing content, because if you're a creator, you're building. You can't build with something that's been labeled dead. So it's that type of crossroads you got to deal with. But the majority of people, they weren't like any of us that, me talking or any of us in the chat. I won't say the majority, many of them weren't like that. And so they were on standby. As we were talking about Stadia, if you would look at our numbers, we talk about GFN, we talk about xCloud or whatever, and they've kind of splintered off and whatever. We talk about Stadia. Oh my gosh. It's like people got rejuvenated and they came back. That's because those people were on standby. They were on standby because they want to see if this thing is coming back, if this is just going to be a temporary faux pas, to so to speak. So we're going to give them that information, and then we're going to give them, we're going to, spill some tea on Google's approach to this altogether. You know what I mean? Like the cloud gaming. They've said when Stadia closed and they were introduced and rolling out the Chromebooks, they said things like, we're not, we have our own unique look prospect, and I'm paraphrasing horribly here, but we have our own unique prospect on cloud gaming, and we're not leaving cloud gaming, and we're gonna contribute to it, and we'll be speaking to you about that sooner rather than later. And that part is part two of this. What is Google's approach to this after Stadia retail is gone? And in part 3, we're going to talk about we just got to have a coming to Jesus moment about cloud gaming, where it's at now, and what it means for the future. All right. So shout out to everybody. We got Sean L. We got Geek to Sneak. We got Sanchez Gaming. We got Collins Dynasty. He says because it's still the best. Yeah, but yeah, I don't get me wrong. I've converted to GeForce Now to do the majority of my gaming. I love it. But there was this Stadia magic that only Stadia had. You know what I'm saying? But I'd highly recommend GeForce Now. When we've been reporting on it, Luna's been purging some stuff, and I'll talk about it. But I recommend Luna too. I really like Luna. Boosteroid, if you don't have a traditional console, but you want access to the latest and greatest games, you know what I'm saying? Give Boosteroid a shot too. You know what I'm saying? So those are the 3 right now that are on my radar particularly. Is first GFN, all of their tiers, and I would say with a splash of Luna and Boosteroid. I might even have to boost Boosteroid over Luna because Luna's been scaling back a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot, but they've been scaling back, and I understand why. We'll get into all that later. But even though those are my things, and I'm gaming at the same pace that I have been, if not more, since Stadia died. There's a Stadia magic that just can't, that just can't be overshadowed. So, all right. With no further ado, let's get into today's topics. All right. So let me do this. We're going to be semi-professional. Let's talk about, we're going to do this. Future. We're going to say cloud gaming. Future. Oh, come on. I got a new keyboard, y'all. And y'all can hear it. Cloud gaming. It's a mechanical, which I shouldn't have got it. You're creating content. You shouldn't have a mechanical keyboard, but I love them. It's just like it's like ASMR relaxing. So I have a mechanical keyboard that I got from let's get that out of here. That I got from Red Dragon. It's a Red Dragon keyboard. Big G on CG. Okay, and then lastly we'll do this. Big G on CG, and then lastly we'll do this. We're gonna do Stadia Tech. Let's put that out there right now. All right. So let's talk about it. Stadia Tech. And now that I'm talking about Stadia Tech here, which one do I want to go to? Is this one? Is this the one that's showing all the Stadia stuff? Yeah, there it goes. And let me move this over a little bit. Position. Yeah, let's make that a little bit more professional. Okay. So as it relates to Stadia's tech, there's again been rumors, and we facilitated a lot of those rumors because we have some very good people with ears on the ground in relation to what was going on within Stadia. Not so much the Google brass and the Google boardroom. We're not going to have people inside there because Google is not, it's like, when you think of Xbox, you got to think of, these are my Xbox contacts opposed to my Microsoft contacts. Xbox could be going to do A, B, and C. But if the Microsoft board wants to do X, Y, Z that the Xbox brass isn't aware of yet, then that might overshadow the information that you got from your Xbox contacts. You know what I'm saying? Happens all the time. So yeah, we've had people that were close on the ground with Stadia, but weren't in the boardroom with Google. It's very hard to get those type of people because they keep things close to the vest. You can't have leakage from that level. I know over my 25 years of experience in Fortune 500 management, I remember we had somebody that was part of our risk and control team, and there was leakage like that. Like when, when people would get laid off and when things were like that. So, one day he inadvertently ran his mouth to somebody about some layoffs, and that filtered on to the people that were being laid off, and they just didn't show up to work. And we didn't know what to do as a company because we had a formal process to lay people off. You had to show up. This was years ago. And so the person didn't show up for a month. They said they were sick. They were still getting paid. They said they were out sick. Somebody got a doctor to prescribe them excuses. And they kept this up for months. Then after 3 months, when they could keep it up no more, they came in and they got laid off. They got purged. By that time, they probably found a new job. So for reasons like that, you can't have leakage from the exec level. So none of us knew what Google was going to do or what Alphabet was going to do. We could only speak of what Stadia, the team at Stadia and the leadership at Stadia were looking to do and how they were going to either move forward or not. And they were very much so looking to move forward. And the reason why I had to preface it with that is because a lot of people say, well, MM2K, all right, we get it. You utilize your sources to help us understand that Cyberpunk 2077 was coming day and date. You utilize your sources to help us understand that Stadia was trying to pivot when they closed SG&E. You utilize your sources to help us understand that the new the load change porting was happening. You told us that. You utilize your sources to tell us that months in advance. You utilize your sources to hint towards Mexico, the expansion, the supposed expansion to Mexico and to other places. But none of that mattered because at the end of the day, while people were on the periphery saying the Stadia was going to close, that's what ended up happening. And to that I say this. You do have an unpredictable nature in Google that many people hammer them for, and hammer them for rightfully so, because they don't stick to things unless there's supreme immediate success. It's very rare that they stick to things, they grind things out unless they're, supreme immediate success is on the horizon. I'm not saying every situation and yes, they should be hammered for that. And that ended up becoming the state of affairs with Stadia. But what you cannot do is, if you're a fact finder, someone that aligns facts and information with the truth to understand why things happen and how things happen, you can't operate off an innuendo. It's because even though the habit that Google has, we didn't want them to follow through with, and we thought that they understood why it was the time for them to act differently now, they didn't do it that way. Even though that was the case, facts matter, because there's going to be somebody that's going to want to get into this game after Google gets into the game and do a lot of the things that Stadia did, and they're going to want to understand what actually worked and what didn't work. That's why facts matter. For the preservation of facts, you follow them and you don't stick to innuendo. If you want to make that an argument case on why you personally feel a certain way, because again, I always say people aren't wrong for their opinions. You're not wrong for how you feel. You're wrong for what you try to purvey as facts. And as I speak to people that clown Stadia, they said, "Oh my gosh, we didn't see this coming." So if you have a boardroom that keeps everything close to the vest, you have a core team that was moving to do some big things, nobody knew. You know what I'm saying? It's from our side of the things. Nobody knew that this move was coming. And when you look at things like OnLive, it's important to know the facts why OnLive failed. OnLive didn't fail because people didn't want cloud gaming. That's baloney. People were it was a completely different atmosphere. People were pushing for OnLive to succeed. OnLive's management and leadership caused it to fail. And that's why this time around, the media we were scoring with OnLive, so we're going to be a lot more skeptical. And there was a whole bunch of hocus pocus bogus crap that was going on with Stadia. But I wanted to preface that with this. When people say, well, your inside sources, the inside sources were 100% correct on all of the Stadia initiative things. So now now that that's dissolved and there is no Stadia team, now we're getting some insight into what Google is looking to do in relation to Stadia, the tech, and cloud gaming in general. So now we've stepped up a little bit as far as the insight that we're getting, and we're not going to get in the boardroom. We'll never get there, but we're getting closer to what the parent company is trying to do. So this is important. So hopefully everybody appreciates it. Let me just go to the chat real quick. That would be dope if PlayStation adopted Stadia's tech because their service is lacking. PlayStation Remote Play is trash. If they bought the tech, I would sub to their cloud. Convenience factor is what I'm about. I had a PlayStation 5 and I'll stick to the future notice. MSI gave me a mechanical keyboard with my PC. Oh, that's dope. I love mechanical PC. But this one is different. I'm going to take a picture of it, y'all, and put it online. I really like my setup now. I got all this RGB stuff happening. But this keyboard doesn't have the numeric keys on the right hand side. It's like 3/4 of a keyboard, and so the 789 and the numlock and the inner, it doesn't have those. So it's a little bit different, and it's hard for me. It's hard for me to get used to because I used to do data entry back in my early days. And I use those 10-pad, 9-pad keys, or 10-pad. They call it 10-pad. I use the 10-pad keys. So me not having the 10-pad keys really throws me off. Shout out to ER Gaming. Let me get you guys' comments up here. All right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get them up here in a little bit. All right. So let's go on. Let's go tell what's going on. So first and foremost, Stadia's tech. The rumor again is that what convinced Stadia to close down was they were approached by some companies. Those companies were like, look, we are very interested in what you guys are doing with cloud gaming, but we want to get involved, but we don't want to get involved at a level of, hey, look, we're someone else that's licensing this tech. We don't want to be using tech that someone else has the same advantage to as well. We want an unfair advantage, meaning we want access to this solely, maybe with a few exceptions, those that are not really competing with us in the markets that we're in. Okay, fine. But besides that, we want access to this tech. Supposedly there was a check written out to help bring forth that expectation, meaning no more immersive stream, no more, no more immersive stream, and no more Stadia retail. We don't even want you utilizing it, because how can we work with you if you're competing against us? You may not be competing against us with, any exclusive content that we have, but you're going to be selling third parties as well. And that conversation, and then there was supposed to be a subsequent meeting, That conversation and meaning thereafter was what supposedly led Stadia to saying, okay, great. We are going to then sell you our tech, and we're going to sell it to you and a few other people exclusively. As long as you write us a check, and we'll close down what we're doing. And Stadia was prompted to do that swiftly because they were looking at this $1 trillion tech bubble that was coming. And they said the low-hanging fruit is Stadia. You know, we could make some cost savings there, or reinvest money there to help with averting this the best way that we can. But if we're going to get paid for shutting this down, along with any reinvestments or cost savings, damn, let's do it. That was the rumor. Sorry, it took me a long time to express that or lay out that rumor, but that was the rumor. I am here, my friends, to let you know that in regards to that rumor, unfortunately, that was a rumor. There are bits and pieces to that still hold up, but the short of it is the Stadia tech, as far as it being sold to other platforms to use, that's not happening. It's not. Here's what's from trusted sources. Here's what's happening. Yes, what was there meetings and conversations about how Stadia could realign itself to be more potent financially, revenue-wise, in cloud gaming? Yes. Were there conversations with other external parties? Yes. Gauging them as far as seeing what they would want? Yes. Were those conversations likely at the heart of why Stadia was closed down? I would say, after hearing what I heard, I believe so. Here's what definitely happened. Google realized that, or Google, I won't say realized, because realized means it's definitive. Google's perception is that trying to enter cloud gaming via Stadia, even though Stadia's tech was highly impressive and all that stuff, it wasn't going to wield the results that they wanted. One of the problems, believe it or not, is that the Stadia technology and Google Cloud had some compatibility issues. Believe it or not. The Stadia technology at first, the Stadia technology and Google Cloud. Now, I'm not a technical wizard. I can't break it down for you. Hopefully more information on that will reveal itself later. But one of the things that I was made abreast of is that, on the offset, Stadia's technology in Google Cloud had some compatibility issues. So there had to be a lot of work done in between to get this fantastic technology that was fantastic, and Google had it in its hands to work on Google's core cloud technology. And that's amazing to hear, for the simple fact that Stadia works so well. But then there was somewhat of a bottleneck there, from what I understand. So you had that, and then you have the fact that, again, there has to be this, the development for Stadia wasn't horrible, but for the state cloud gaming is in right now, it's cumbersome. So as great as the technology is, it was going to take a lot of work to get games from other platforms under other coding or whatever it is on the Stadia platform, under the Stadia technology. It's going to take a lot of work and investment and money to make that process as smooth as possible, which was causing, quote unquote, a financial bottleneck. I made that up. Usually when you talk about bottleneck, you talk about gaps in goals and actual performance, but I'll just say financial bottleneck, where there's more put into this to make this process come out as possible. For instance, if I got a lemonade stand and, my materials for the lemonade stand cost $50, to sell you the lemonade. And by the time I sell it to you and sell out that whole batch, whether it's the lemons, the water, the ice, I only make $65. Yeah, I'm still in the green, but not by much, because my supplier, where I'm going to go get my ingredients, my sugar, whatever, is too expensive. But if I can cut that down to $25 and still kind of get the same result, then that's what I'm gonna look towards. So long term, yeah, I'm killing it in lemonade sales. My lemonade tastes great, but everything that I got to invest in it in order to get it to taste that great, it's not panning out. And when I'm looking at it long term, especially now that I got this $1 trillion tech bubble coming, I then start to realize, okay, what I'm probably going to have to do is find a way to still get that great taste, but not have it cost so much. So discussions were had with Google in regards to these third parties or whatever. They saw the potential that was out there, but then they realized that they're really going to come up on the short end of this, with utilizing the tools that they have. So then Google decided that as great as Stadia's tech is, that the Stadia way of doing it just wasn't beneficial enough for them. So that's why they said long term, it's not beneficial enough for us long term. And and then they had to base a lot of that on the short term, again, because of this $1 trillion tech bubble that came. Again, this is me throwing in my own conjecture from my debriefing. I really feel that the $1 trillion tech bubble really cut down Google's patience in waiting for the load change porting to become efficient in a cost-effective way. Like, they just felt like they didn't have time for that. And they felt like that they had to start from scratch from a more financially efficient model. So again, looking at having those the conversation, the part of the rumor that was correct is there were conversations with those other companies. There were talks about, hey, look, which the end state that you're getting at is hella impressive. But Google came to a realization that when they started crunching the numbers and looking at the progression of this short term and long term, that there was some leakage. There was some financial leakage. And again, the best way I can explain it is the lemonade stand scenario. My lemonade is great. Everybody loves it. By the time I get done selling each batch that I put together, I'm bringing in $65, right? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I can sell 3 batches of this lemonade a day, right? And as a kid, what's that? What's that? $190 or something like that? $195? A kid that can make $195 a day, that's great. But if it costs me $150 to to get that $195, what is the kid essentially making? Kid is essentially only making $45 a day, which ain't bad for a kid. But when you talk about these conglomerates and these big companies and all this other stuff, there can't be that high-end cost to come out. You know what I'm saying? To come out with these results, because if your competition is running a lot more efficient financially, that's going to kill you in the market. You got to understand, these are Fortune 500 companies. I know you guys get sick of me saying that. They're publicly traded, but you got to understand the businesses. This is why what I should do for every member is I should send you a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. I should do that. You guys get this. This is why I talk about the business. I talk about the business because you got to understand why decisions are made. Not just that this happened, but you got to understand why decisions are made, because the next go around, it'll help you better understand when something is likely to happen. That's why I said just going off of conjecture alone and not understanding why this decision was made is not good. I want to understand the why. I got to be honest. Before Stadia, I wasn't that proficient on Google. Didn't follow them much. Didn't understand the random like nature. Now I do. But along with that, I see under this leadership that they have what they are prone to do in XYZ scenarios. So because I understand that, now I can better prepare the facts that I do have in front of me from maybe a division level, but then give you a more well-rounded and more precise prescription on what I feel what the likelihoods are. It's not an exact science, but it's one that can make you more informed and help you as a consumer make a better make a better consumer decision. So that's the why. Just as great as Stadia was not cost efficient for them when looking at the potential really groundbreaking business that they could be making. Like they've had some serious talks, and there's really some groundbreaking business that's going to be had or potentially be had. And so they looked at that. They looked at, again, their supply and said this isn't efficient. So that's where we're at with that. So being that the Stadia tech is no longer going to be the cornerstone, of how Google approaches cloud gaming, are they still going to be heavily invested in cloud gaming? And two, what is going to be their solution? So I will say this: for they're going to be heavily invested in cloud gaming. Yes, absolutely. They are. And that's the perfect segue to our next part. Big G on cloud gaming. What is their answer? So what Google is going to do in lieu of Stadia. Now, Stadia isn't dying off entirely. I mean, just for fact's sake, a lot of the processes are going to be used internally for different things. So the technology isn't dying off, but our hopes and aspirations of that technology that we thought was so fantastic being ported over to other platforms, that's not happening. Here's what's going to happen. Google is eyeballing other technology that they feel is as efficient as Stadia, because it's out there, is as efficient as Stadia, if not more efficient in the long term. Platforms and technology that still operate within the breadth of using cloud gaming not to just put things in people's hands more easily, but change the way that we game. And there are platforms or a platform that caught their eye. So what Google wants to do is Google wants to invest in nurture and mature this promising technologies that are out there, and partner with them and say, hey, look, this technology is great. We've already been in the field. This technology is great. Here, look, we can help boost you in getting the spotlight put on you. And we have great cloud servers, and they're only going to get better. Let's partner. Let's do some type of partnership between your technology, our cloud servers, and what you'll get in return is you'll get our access to various Fortune 500 companies or players in the game, because we already started establishing those relationships. We have people that are from some of these major players, that have experience with some of these major players in the gaming field, that can hold conversations with you. And if you think that, oh, Google does not, let me explain something to you. It's not by coincidence that the NIS America games, for instance, that Stadia was able to get those games when Xbox couldn't. That's not by mistake. Stadia has a lot of PlayStation alumni. I won't say a lot, but they have some serious PlayStation alumni embedded. And that PlayStation alumni has very deep connections with Japanese developers. That's why you saw such the swift support from companies like Capcom. And you saw NIS America. You know what I mean? Because of those connections. So don't think for a second that the likes of Jack Buser, Karine Yap, who I believe, did Karine Yap come from Midway? I can't remember where Karine Yap came from. From what I understand, Phil Harrison is still involved with Google, that those people do not have connections. Do not be fooled. So with the connections that those individuals have, among others, they're going to help groom other promising technology that is going to work better with Google Cloud and not have that financial leakage. As far as having to support it, compatibility and all other stuff. That we will invest, we will nurture, we will partner, and then we'll help present this technology in unison as a unified movement or unified presentation. We're going to present this to the likes of other gaming platforms out there as their long-term solution. That's how Google plans to get into the cloud gaming space, is that they plan to do it by, again, getting, because you got to remember, the thing with Google, which is kind of upsetting, is that they see markets that they want to be involved in. So they try to get involved in a traditional way. And then when getting involved in a traditional way doesn't work as fast or isn't as profound as they want it to be. They build up a fan base, they build up an audience, people like what they're doing, and then all of a sudden they cut it off. And then they cut it off and then they say, well, okay, we've learned a lot from that experience. So what we're going to do is take back what we learned and we're going to remold it in a way that we feel is more efficient for us. So we're going to start from the beginning. And in that way, Google tends to be less consumer friendly than other companies. Because they didn't just do this with Stadia. They've done it with, the YouTube. They've done it with a lot of products. YouTube productions. First you had, what was that? The Cobra Kai series, which was fantastic. Then all of a sudden they get out of the movie making or the cinema thing like Amazon Prime is doing. They get out of that and they sell all the business off. And, I don't know if they have a more supportive role or what. But, oh, yeah, we've learned from that. And what Google does is they put things out on the market and use that as their test script. Which, when you're out on the market and you come up with a product or a brand, the philosophy of using that as a test script is unreliable to the average consumer. So that's the part that Google has to either get away from, or they're going to continue to be deemed by consumers. They're not going to be trusted. But Stadia ended up becoming another use case of, oh, we put this thing out on the market. It didn't do exactly what we wanted it to do off the bat, but we learned a lot from it. So let's just scrap it. What companies normally do is they enhance it, because a lot of companies can say, like for instance, Xbox. When the OG Xbox released, were there mistakes made? Of course there were mistakes made. When the 360 was released, were there mistakes made? Of course there were mistakes made. But they didn't scrap Xbox. They enhanced it. They kept the product and the brand there, and they fleshed it out even more, and they worked on those mistakes to fix them over time. Where Google just says, oh, no, we'll collapse it. We'll take the parts that we like and we're going to start from scratch. So that part of what Google does is very infuriating and frustrating. But in the long term, if Google from a business perspective can help bring forth cloud gaming into a new stratosphere where they're working with big companies and they're helping them realize some cool things that can be done that is going to enhance gaming and make gaming better and take it out of its stalemate, then I'm all for it. You just have to understand that as Google jumps into any other markets on the retail side, you got to look at it as you being a guinea pig. And unfortunately, with the closure of Stadia, we were the next lot of guinea pigs. That's the frustrating part. And that's the part that's going to be hard to get over until Google unveils what they're going to do. Their new approach to cloud gaming and how they feel like that's going to have a positive impact on cloud gaming and gamers in general. And they got to orchestrate and communicate that and articulate that very well. Now, here's what we do know before we go to our last part. They are going to do that sooner rather than later. They are going to communicate publicly. And I know how, and I know who, and I know through what venues, but I'm not gonna tell you. That part I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that they're going to do it soon. Very soon. So be on the lookout for Google to come through. That's the plan right now. So unless something changes, be on the lookout for Google to talk about what they're going to do in regards to the cloud gaming space here on out. Expect it soon. And, hopefully this will help you digest a little bit more and get over it. But to dissolve the shock value of them not continuing on with the Stadia technology as we knew it. I'm putting this out here now. So spread the word. Let people know that you heard it here first. I believe you heard it here first. There might have been some other communications about Google's approach with certain platforms, and I'm not sure how detailed those conversations were, but I'm telling you now that let people know that you heard it here as a CloudDosage member, that the Stadia experiment is done. They've collected their data, and now they're going back and now they're going to work on their long-term solution, which hopefully again is enlightening for gamers. So we'll see. All right. So that's that on Big G on cloud gaming. The last part that we'll talk about is, what do I think about all this? What do I think this means for cloud gaming's future? I'll say this. Gaming altogether, to me, is at a standstill. Don't get me wrong. I love PlayStation, and what I would have loved to see is Stadia's technology given to PlayStation, and PlayStation be able to kill it on the cloud. Because as far as I'm concerned, there are two things that cloud gaming is good for right now. Cloud gaming is good for, and Stadia articulated this perfectly, I feel. Right now, there are two people that will see cloud gaming, even though cloud gaming can be so much more. The people that will see cloud gaming are those that want to see the tech flourish, that are interested in the technology of it, that get 4K 60 and understand that there are some technological advancements that cloud gaming can provide, that even dedicated gaming can provide, or where if they can, dedicated gaming can't provide, and even where they can provide it, it's too expensive or too hard to obtain as far as availability, all the other stuff. And I'm talking about 4090 cards or whatever. So that's the technical marvel side of it, as far as performance, output, or whatever. Those are the technical offerings argument. The other side of it is availability. Cloud gaming makes gaming available to those who otherwise wouldn't be able to access it. And when I talk about availability, I talk about no downloads, and it has to be, to me, it has to be a culmination of all these. The lack of downloads and updates, the convenience of the convenience of access. I'm available on multiple TVs. I'm available on multiple dongles. You know what I'm saying? I'm available. You know what I'm saying? I'm easily available. And then lastly, reliability. You may have gamers that are of the second tier, to where they're not so much considered care about 4K 60, but they want the performance. They know they've gamed before. And even though they don't want 4K 60, they don't want pixelation all over the place, and they don't want horrible frames. And they want to know that on average, at least I'm going to get something good from game to game to game. There's not going to be a section of games that say, oh, these are the best games to work on the cloud, on said platform. Yeah, you might have some outliers that don't work well. And you might have some outliers on the other extremity that are perfect, but the vast majority of your experience with said platform is going to be, this is reliable, this is consistent, and I can enjoy this. And the best way to gauge that is from people who don't need 4K 60, but they've gamed regularly, so they understand a fathomable floor and ceiling for gaming performance. And as far as I'm concerned, there's only 2, maybe 3 that foot that bill right now. That's NVIDIA GeForce Now. Exactly, even though they're not perfect, the convenience argument isn't always there across the board unless you're on the ultimate tier. And then the ultimate tier does it better, but it's not as convenient as Amazon Luna, you know, as far as getting into but the performance is there. The technical marvel is there, and it's pushing cloud gaming forward. So it checks most of the boxes off perfectly. And the one where it's kind of shaky, you know what I'm saying? It's like they're getting better, but it's still fathomable. That's one thing. Then you look at Amazon Luna. Amazon Luna scaling back considerably because that's their answer to dealing with the tech bubble, which, you know, I know it concerns a lot of people, but my thing is that I'd rather them still be around and still offer an experience to gamers which is consistent, opposed to them having having a whole bunch of games that sound like, oh, I want to play that, but I don't know how it's going to play, for one. And for two, them not be around, right? So as many arguments as there are against Amazon Luna, I think there are as many arguments for it. At least they're still around. And playing on Luna is very consistent. If you had to ask me, you know, for instance, if you're a Ubisoft gamer and you're playing at 1090 and cost is a thing for you, like you're like, oh, you know, I only want to pay $9.99. You have the priority tier of GFN, which is very good. Don't get me wrong, it's very good. But at $9.99 for 1080p, particularly for Ubisoft games, Luna's better. And if you have a Fire TV device in your house, and again, those prior things are your issue, you only want 1080p. You know what I'm saying? Ubisoft games are important to you. And you know what I'm saying? You don't need all the biggest and baddest games, but you want access to a decent lineup of games in a subscription service. And that you can play reliably. Then Amazon Luna is good enough for you. And Amazon Luna is probably your best bet. So I really think that Amazon Luna has an argument as far as doing something positive for cloud gaming, even though there's a lot more that they need to do. But I still put them on the table. And then nothing against Shadow, but I think they're very costly. They cost themselves out of the market. What's that? Boosteroid. Boosteroid, again, is giving you access to AAA games that a lot of people want to play without having to have a AAA console. And you can play them on the cloud, and they're consistently working and doing things to enhance the service, make it better. They're doing things like direct streaming to YouTube, that's huge, that's important. And they're putting their heads down and they're working to get the games to you. Now, there's a lot of rumors about, you know, what they're doing and is their LLC registered and all this other stuff. And those things, I think, to the needs of the average gamer are superficial. You got to understand what the service provides and the different levels it provides it. Whether you're talking about the install method where they attempt to try to give you access to all your games, you bring your own game methodology. You know what I'm saying? opposed to the games that, have been fine-tuned for the platform. There's those two types of levels, and you got to understand the risk that's involved, but there's the risk involved with every platform. There was a hell of a risk involved with us getting involved with Stadia, which was a Google product. And what was the risk? The risk is, here goes your money back. And then a lot of it is in Google Play points. And then some of these games I can't even play in the cloud anymore. Like, Baldur's Gate is opted in the GFN, but when's that coming? I still can't play Madden in the cloud. The Madden was one of my favorite games to play. Now I'm lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? So there are coherent risks everywhere. And I can point to this, and that, whatever. At the end of the day, you're not any more safer with one platform than another because one company is bigger and has more bureaucracy opposed to another one that's smaller and deals with less bureaucracy. That isn't within itself meaning you're going to get a more reliable experience. Here's what I will say. I will say that Boosteroid, again, with them working on enhancing the platform, and their whoop to do is, again, giving you a catalog of games in the cloud that you're hard pressed to find anywhere else. That's great. You know what I'm saying? Again, are they perfect? No. Are there other things that they need to work on? Absolutely, yes. But those are the three that I'm really looking at that are kind of doing things for cloud gaming. Either tier 1, which is on the technological side, or tier 2, which is the access side. I really gotta, people are gonna say, MM2K, you're not bringing up xCloud. From my perspective, I really don't put xCloud in that box. The reason why I don't put xCloud in that box is because, again, I said I feel like it has to be a collective of convenience, access, and what are you doing to enhance gaming through your cloud gaming experience. And Xbox doesn't have that cohesion. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have Amazon Luna with Twitch Direct Stream, where if you want to be a streamer and you don't have the setup, you don't have the money for a setup, through Amazon Luna. And that was one of my biggest pulls to cloud gaming altogether, was the streaming aspect. All you need is a phone that you already have and or a tablet, and that's it. The most cheapest of setups, you can now become a professional streamer and do reliable 1080, sharp looking 1080p gaming on the world's biggest gaming stream platform, which is Twitch. Boosteroid, giving you access to games. Not only are they giving you access to games, but then they're trying to do their version of that with the YouTube Direct Stream that they're working on. GFN, I can't even talk about what they're doing with the GFN Ultimate. Would I like to see the streaming aspect there too, but they're doing it in other ways with pushing the technology forward. When I look at Xbox, the library isn't consistent, game to game, and they're not doing anything to enhance your gaming experience as a gamer. They are truly just giving you access to games in the cloud that they have on their console. That's all they're doing. So if there was any platform that wasn't pushing cloud gaming forward, or if there was any platform that wasn't pushing gaming forward at all, it would be xCloud. Now, if you like xCloud, fine, not a problem for me. You can love it. I don't care. But when we're looking at the grand scheme, when I see the arguments of who's really pushing this forward or whatever, you can't argue against Luna, Boosteroid, or GFN, but but xCloud is being praised. If you like it, you love it. Some people love liver, liver and gravy. Some people love liver and gravy. But you can't sit there and say liver and gravy is one of the most desired dishes out there when it's not. And you can't sit there and applaud xCloud, not talk about its flaws, but dog out the other ones. That's putting our own personal preference ahead of the whole arena for cloud gaming. So again, there are those that like Xbox cloud gaming, and that's fine. And I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't like it. If you like it, I love it. That's great. But when we're having these conversations about what's moving cloud gaming forward, Xbox is at the bottom. Oh, they're working on a cloud native game. I'll believe it when I see it. Xbox promised a lot of stuff in the cloud that they've reneged on. And I don't even want to go through the list. So, okay, yes, Amazon is scaling back. An attempt to stick around. Fine. GFN has some more to do in the realm of convenience across the board. Fine. Boosteroid, I don't know, for some, because when I've had conversations with them, the people that are looking to check their LLC papers are far and few between. We got to get out of our own boxes and stop thinking that just because something is being converted in our sector, that again, as I said earlier in the podcast, that represents the majority of gaming. The majority of gamers don't care about their LLC papers, right? We got to look at things in totality and say, in my opinion, when we're talking about cloud gaming, who's moving it forward, it's the best in the cohesiveness of technology, access, convenience, and consistency. You got to have that cohesion of those three. So really, access and convenience are the same thing. So technology, access and convenience, consistency. Because especially if you don't have that consistency, who cares what catalog you have? Who cares? Nobody cares. Hopefully that's understood. All right. So that's it for, again, what's going on with Stadia, what's Google's approach, and then my look at cloud gaming for the future. I think cloud gaming is got to have that cohesiveness. I give it to those three, but GFN is in a space all by itself right now. I like what Boosteroid is attempting. As a small company, they're doing some cool things. So, hopefully they can keep it up and keep getting better and keep cleaning up the platform. Amazon Luna, again, a lot of potential there. I like that, they're still around, but there's so many more things that they do need to do. Even though I give them a seat at the table as far as having that cohesiveness, they're barely there. They're barely able to look over the edge of that table. They got to do more. And I get they're trying to, survive what's going on here with this tech bubble. But on the other end of this, they got to roll out some. They got to enhance and roll out some things that continue to separate it and keep it at that table, or they go back at the kiddies table with xCloud. So, with that said, appreciate all of you guys and gals coming through. Spread the word. And I'm around, man. I'm gonna be doing more cloud gaming talks like these. We kind of retired SLS to a degree. We retired Sound Off. I'm doing a lot more collective gaming or collab gaming. So check me out with CGTV, but you'll check me here. Still doing videos on CloudDosage. We're getting more people involved. We do have a show specific to a platform, which I will be involved in. There's going to be more news on that. We are going to be bringing back SSC later on in the month. We're going to reboot the show and have it work in a different format, and it's going to be monthly. And more to come. We're working with more creators, more people to come on the platform and do their thing. There's a great review of the Logitech, I think it's called the G Cloud handheld. Fantastic review by Jack Deslip. Check that out. Also check out my CGTV video that I did for celebrating the 3 years of the video GeForce Now. And we got more coming. So with that said, I appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all so much for taking the time out with me today. Let me do this. Let me go read the comments from the chat and then we'll close out. Hold on 1 second. Let me do one thing. So I can read you guys' chats. All right, let's do that. Okay, so give me a second and those chats should come up. But yeah, man, I mean, as far as the future of cloud gaming is concerned as well, it's going to be a slow grind, y'all. But what GFN is doing is, I think that they're slowly peeling back that time that it takes to realize that cloud gaming is something viable. Now what we're going to need is cloud specific experiences to start appealing to the mainstream. And when it doesn't necessarily have to be cloud specific games, but you're going to need cloud specific experiences. So I want to shout out everybody in the chat. We got Shawnell, our homie Shawnell. We got Geek the Sneaky says, hey, yo, we got Sanchez Gaming in the house. We got Collins Dynasty says PlayStation Remote Play is trash. Yeah, I don't like it. It's not bad. Well, let me put it like this. It's playable, but I remember when I tried Remote Play. Now I don't know how things work now because I don't have a new Xbox console, and I don't even know if they do Remote Play now. They probably axed it for just xCloud. But when I tried Remote Play on PlayStation via my Vita and my phone, and then I tried it on Xbox, and I play and I used Fallout 76 for both games. I mean, for both experiences. The PlayStation Cloud or the Remote Play experience was even better, believe it or not. Now again, to be fair, that was like 2 years ago that I did that, and I did a video on it too. But the PlayStation experience was actually better, believe it or not. So I don't know where things are at now, but yeah, unfortunately, they said if they bought the tech, I would be so sub to the cloud. Yeah, it's not that the Stadia tech won't be available, so PlayStation Cloud is doomed. Google is invested in something else that they plan to market in conjunction with these other technologies or whichever one they decide on, and they're going to approach companies like PlayStation and whomever in hopes that they'll sign on, because they've already talked to these companies. And hopefully these companies will be impressed. They'll sign on. This will most importantly involve enhanced gaming, but hopefully what it'll do is it'll make people realize that cloud gaming is something worth investing into, and it'll be something that is profitable for Google, because God forbid if something isn't profitable for Google on the offset. We already see what that looks like. So that's the thing. It has to be profitable for Google. Sanchez says cloud is best suited for phones and tablets and smart TVs. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, I agree. They should have kept Cobra Kai, and I signed up to the service just to watch. Yeah, exactly. But that's the Google way. Google unfortunately uses retail, and I get why they do it, because what better way to test out things and see if things will work and what works and what doesn't than to put it out there. Put it out there. But that's what betas are for. And I get you get more when you put it out as a retail product, you get more data. But the risk of putting it out there as a retail product is now you've established a brand, a product or a service that people expect you to enhance when things aren't going exactly right. It's not like Stadia was a complete and utter failure in the cloud gaming space. It just wasn't going to surpass the cloud gaming projections that as Google hoped it would be. Google was thinking it was going to be like a 5 to 10% business or something like that, and it wasn't going to do that. And really, Google didn't really invest into it enough to make it that way, to me, which was silly. As a cloud gaming service, it was very reliable, and it was operating within the numbers that its cloud gaming counterparts were doing as well. All numbers and analysts project to that. Every time they talk about what's pushing cloud gaming in the future, Google's name was talked about in the few names that were mentioned. Or Stadia was. So it's not like that the platform wasn't viable. It's just that they had these lofty expectations that they put nothing behind. And when they got to this tech bubble, they just said, you know what? Let's axe this, because there's bigger potential and we can capitalize on that bigger potential if we start from the beginning. Every company can capitalize on bigger potential if they axe what they've done on the retail market and start from the beginning, potentially. But then there's that reputational risk that you run. You run reputational risk with the consumers. Reputational risk isn't something that just happens with clients and you know what I'm saying, and business partners. You run reputational risk with consumers. So we'll see. But unfortunately, this is where we're at right now. We gotta wait and see. Now, soon we ain't gotta. When I say soon, we ain't gotta wait and see too long. Google is going to present something through a certain channel with a certain somebody. I can't tell you, but we'll see what comes from that. I really like Luna. It sucks. The cut sucks, but I really like the mix of games. Yeah, I'm the same way. I like what they're presenting. And I want to see them to survive this. And unfortunately, if they got to scale back on a lot of these games, I'm not saying all of them are whatever, shovelware. No, there's some pretty good games that they've had to scale back on. But if they can keep a core of the good games that are out there, and still keep the servers up and running and survive this tech bubble and become better because of it. Like, and another potential thing too is we talk about what could be huge for Amazon Luna is that as they're making games, like they're going to do these Lara Croft games, like supposedly they either bought Lara Croft off of Embracer, or they're going to be working in conjunction with Embracer and to do the Tomb Raider series. If they can make Tomb Raider into a huge game / Amazon franchise, Luna fits in there somewhere. Now, granted, this is going to be $100 million per game, if not more, project. So they're not going to throw this in their subscription service. But what they'll probably do is with the bring your own game method, the games that Amazon Luna sells that you can play physically, you may be able to play on the cloud if you're subscribed to Amazon Luna as well. If you're subscribed to Luna Plus. Again, that's something that is fantastic and something that I would love to see from Amazon Luna. And there's other games. There's the Blue Cross or something like that. Yeah, there's some games that are coming from the Amazon pot that I think are big. The whole potential of Amazon Luna is bigger than these these games that they're cutting back, including the shovelware. Most of it is shovelware. Most of it is stuff that people were never going to play anyway. You know what I mean? So, all right. And apparently people weren't playing it and it wasn't worth the time. Hence why they cut them. All right. Well, that's it, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me. Hope y'all appreciated the content. Stay tuned. Give me some time. I'm gonna grab something to eat and I'm gonna start streaming some games. All right. With that said, appreciate all y'all. Thank y'all so much. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.